Stephanie Leto, Development Manager at Games for Change, and this is my 10th festival. Okay, yeah, I was expecting applause, but I've seen a lot of inspiring talks over the past 10 years, but this one is special. Neopia is a fantastical world of iconic virtual pets and whimsical arcade games where beauty is in simplicity. A world that I discovered when I was a sickly child, and one of the only normal things that I was able to do was use a computer. More than 25 years later, I am still playing Neopets. As I've grown, so too has the platform. A year-long story arc tackled purpose, identity, and growing around your trauma. New shop items allow players to express their identities with inclusive hairstyles, pride markers, and even medical supplies that can be worn as symbols of strength. Neopets makes us feel seen and offers moments of joy when we need it the most, with heartfelt messages and characters that are deeply human. A few months ago, I reached out to Dominic Law, CEO of Neopets, to tell him how much his platform means to me. Neopets welcomed me into their community with open arms, and now it is my turn to do the same. It is my great honor to introduce you to CEO of Neopets and my new friend, Dominic Law.
Well, thanks, Stephanie, for the introduction. Just a show of hands, who here played Neopets? Okay, that's pretty good. Okay, okay, let me do something. So when there's so many fans and Formula players in the room, can we take a selfie? Okay, so the topic today is about accidental classroom. So I'm going to talk about my personal journey, but also what's next for Neopets. But first of all, a little bit about myself. I'm Dominic Law. I took over Neopets 3 years ago, but I adopted my first Neopets when I was 12 and started my Neopian journey. It was my first online game, the game that made me feel cool in school because I started playing before many other people in Hong Kong. My friends in Canada introduced it to me in the year of 2000, and I started playing for a good few years during my middle school. And I'm a player turned CEO since 3 years ago. It's like a childhood dream come true, being able to be part of this journey to revive such a legendary, iconic pet game. So Neopets at a glance, for those who didn't show up your hands. So it was launched in 1999. Lifetime players, we have 150 million lifetime players. At our peak in the early kind of like 2000s, 2008, we have close to 40 million MAU. So it's probably one of the biggest games in the history of online gaming. And put it into perspective, back then, there are less options online. So the time spent on Neopets is actually way higher compared to some of the biggest games in the modern days. So it is a pet carrying game, but the core game loop is like collecting the things you love for your pets, and then you decorate your pets, and it's living corners, and it's kind of like a virtual pet game, but there's a lot more to it. So it's never just a pet game. It's actually our gateway to the world of internet for a whole generation of players. I've personally learned a lot through Neopets, and these are just some of the examples of the things that you can learn, like HTML, the stock market, compound interest, guild leadership, digital citizenship. It's actually never just a pet game. It's actually all of the early internet culture and features all masked under a browser-based game. And I would like to highlight two things of the learnings that we have in Neopets. So because this is a game conference, I'd like to talk about the coding and front-end web dev. So because one of the key goals for Neopets is to accumulate wealth inside the game so that you can buy and collect all the cool items to decorate your pet, to show off your collection, and to just brag to your friends. So, but in order to do that, you need to set up your own shop. You need to buy low, sell high. You need to make sure that you look cool online. So a lot of players back then, the only thing that they can do is like they have to go into the back-end coding to learn about HTML, to learn about CSS, so that they can customize their storefront, they can change their font size, they can change the color of their username and pet name. And back then, that's considered really, really cool, because in the early internet days, that's unheard of, and it's a new feature that was introduced to our players. So kids even become entrepreneurs, trying to sell custom page designs to other players. But they don't make real money like they can do with Roblox now. They can only sell the page designs in Neopoints, the in-game currency, so that they can accumulate wealth. So today, I'm sure there are a lot of engineers, game designers, and studio founders across the industry who played Neopets growing up, and Neopets is probably their first online game as well. And since we're in New York, I'd like to talk about the money and capitalism that was introduced in Neopets. So a big part of Neopets is, as I mentioned, accumulating wealth. So how do you do that? And Neopets is basically introduced capitalism to kids at a very young age, but kids learn about it because they want to play the game and they want to dress up their pets nicely. So there's actually a stock market inside the game, and it was introduced in the 2000 during the dot-com bubble, and we call it the NeoDAC. So you can buy stocks, and unlike the real stock markets, it never crashes. It can go down to a certain point, so you just have to be patient and sell your stock. And that's one of the almost assured way that you can accumulate wealth inside the game. On top of that, there's savings and interest, there's the trading element. So all this combined, it really helps users to learn about what exactly is a stock market. And at the age of 10, that's kind of when I first have my first dip of learning about, oh, I need to research into companies, understand what these companies do, and try to speculate why there's stock market movements. So there's a total of 33 companies in the game that I can trade, and all under the NeoDAC exchange. And the second one, we taught a lot of kids about financial literacy. So the concept of compound interest was introduced very, very early on, and is like a core mechanism inside the game. You have to go to the Neopian bank, and you have to fill in a form to open a bank account. And you can enjoy higher interest rate once you accumulate more wealth. So that's basically the foundation of capitalism. You use money to earn money. And that was introduced to many, many players in the room and myself at a very young age. And to date, I still think that Neopets has basically helped me get into the kind of consulting industry, the professional industry, because of all these learnings I have when I was a kid. But why did it work? So it's a clear concept here, is that it's because researchers call it stealth learning. So kids at a young age are learning a lot of these concepts without even noticing, because they have one motivation inside the game, is to have fun and enjoy the play. And all these concepts were actually introduced as part of the gameplay, and they're learning because they want to excel, because they want to accumulate wealth, and they want to care for their pets, and making sure that their pets have the best items and customized in the best possible way. So no one signed up to be educated. So kids are playing Neopets in the classroom during computer classes, but they're all playing because it was social, it was fun, and they signed up to care for a pet. And there's no test. The feedback loop is simple. How can you accumulate wealth? You need to buy a lot of items, set up your shop, and then sell these items to other players. So it's like a very C2C MMO game at a very early stage. And the feedback loop is clear. If you can accumulate wealth, you sell your items, your shop is attractive, you're able to market your shops and get more people to visit, more players to visit, then you can accumulate wealth. And that's kind of the feedback loop that's already built inside the game. And that's how users are able to test and trial and error and do A/B testing back then. And the motivation is very clear, is basically just caring and collecting. So you learn whatever you need to make yourself look good inside the game. And that's why it worked. So it's stealth learning. So that's kind of all the things that I personally have learned from Neopets. So we took over 3 years ago. and now we're trying to revive this legacy brand. So what's next for Neopets? I actually call it a three-pillar strategy since I took over 3 years ago. And majority of what we do is actually on the first pillar, on your left-hand side, is reviving the classic game. So Neopets has been kind of like decaying since 2010. The user base has been going down, features were broken, and we took over, half of the site is unplayable. The whole site is built on Flash, and no one maintained it. And the whole code base was not transitioned, is not even on Git. So fixing the site is actually a very challenging job for us, and it's been 80% of our focus for the past few years. And first thing we also need to do is rebuild the trust with the community. So there's a core group of users that has been playing Neopets nonstop for the past decade or 2 decades, but going through where the site is broken, the death of Flash, where the site suddenly becomes unplayable and the team didn't plan for it. So just like at December 30th, first after Flash was dead, the site just becomes unplayable. And there's only a certain part of the site that you can still play and people hang on to. So we need to build that trust, and through that, we actually empower the community. So how do we do that? We actually encourage the community to come together, have community meetups. We introduce a community ambassador program, and that's kind of how we start to build in public, and also having a lot of AMAs, doing pollings on what the community wants fixed first, and then we've been doing that since day one after we took over. And I'm proud to say that, like in these past 3 years, we've been able to grow our MAU by 3x, and we've been also growing our revenue to reach a decade high. So we've been able to get a lot of lapsed users to come back to the game when we introduce a lot of these broken game features when we're fixing the site. And the community sentiment is at an all-time high. People are hopeful about what we're building. We've introduced a new plot. And all that actually contributes to the second pillar of the strategy, is to rebuild the IP. So we want to extend our brand loyalty. So it's not just a nostalgic, it's not just like a trip down the memory lane. How can we turn Neopets into evergreen IP? So we need to create fun experiences. We need to create a flywheel that can get our lapsed users to come back. And most of the lapsed users, 150 million player base, they might not want to come back to a 26-year-old game. So what can we do to capture that? So we've been doing a lot of collabs. We built the merch program, and using these physical toys to reintroduce Neopets to our players. And that's kind of the flywheel that I'm talking about, is where users can experience Neopets, own a piece of their childhood, even though they might not want to play the old game, they can still extend that brand loyalty. And that's kind of what we've been doing with our merch program, and also recently our collabs with Fortnite, introducing Neopets as a sidekick in Fortnite, doing board games, doing a trading card game, and etc. But what I want to talk more about is the new experiences that we want to build. So apart from getting our lapsed users to come back to play the old game, maybe to play the new mobile game that we're building, and also enjoying some of the physical merch that we have, what can we do with Neopets that is so different? Can we actually revive Neopets and bring it back to its former glory days? So our focus is actually, we want to focus on pet caring. Our vision is that we want to be back at a #1 pet caring game, and also leveraging a brand with such legacy, legendary brand power. What else can we do? So we looked very hard and figure out that pet caring is actually also a great pillar for wellness and learning about self-care. And also, can we turn Neopets into an evergreen IP that's cross-generational and create something that's for the millennial parents who've grown up playing Neopets? And can this be a brand that they can share to the next generation and create gameplays that is shared, and also create a safe environment for the family to play as a unit? So why pet caring? So pet caring is an evergreen genre. It has existed and tested in multiple formats in the very early stage as a physical device, Tamagotchi basically dominated the pet carrying scene. And then during the internet stage is Neopets. And then during the console stage is Nintendog. And more recently, in Roblox, is Adopt Me. So pet caring is an evergreen genre that has shown that it's just human nature, innate nature, that we want to take care of pets. And the hook is always to have the cute pets. So I'm not sure if you remember any of these Neopets. My personal favorite is the one in the middle, Blue Shoru. That's why it's placed there. It's my first pet, and it's still my favorite. And I still have my Blue Shoru on my business card. If you guys want to talk to me, it's pretty cool. But also, like, having a cute pet is actually great for merchandise. Like, these are some of the plushies that we have. It's a great way to reintroduce Neopets to lapsed users. And as I mentioned, even if they don't play the game, they can cuddle with the pets. They can have a piece of their childhood. But the breadth is actually having the NPCs, the lore, and the gameplay is what makes users stay and engage with the brand and engage with the IP. And also the depth, the worldview. You can go on an adventure with your pet. There's like more than 18 different lands that you can explore. It's culturally relevant. It's mimicking the real world that we're in. So these are the things that we're working with. Like Neopets has all the right ingredients to become a much bigger IP and a much bigger brand. So what should we do with it? So why we also want to double down on pet caring is because we believe that caring for a pet actually teaches you about self-care. It's been proven by many scientific studies. Like virtual pet interaction can actually lower stress, anxiety, fatigue. It actually mimics a lot of the benefits similar to having a real pet as your companion in real life. But virtual pet can mimic most of it, if not all of it. But it's also scalable. Not everyone can afford or can have the actual time to take care of a real pet. But for a virtual pet, it's actually much easier. So it's a lot more scalable. Everyone theoretically can have a digital pet or a virtual pet for life. And players of care-based games have always reported that they've been able to develop a habit that takes care of themselves better. And these daily care rituals are actually the same architecture of what we need for healthy habit formation. So what we believe is that Neopets has proven in the past, during its heyday, that financial literacy, stock markets, investing, coding can all be learned as a byproduct of gaming. What we believe in is that in the future, wellness and self-care can also be a byproduct of a well-designed pet-caring game. And that's what we want to build for Neopets in the future. And the second part is the potential of being an intergenerational, cross-generational bridge. The 10-year-old that played Neopets 25 years ago is now a young parent. And for the first time, we are a digital native and an online gaming generation that now have kids. And can we be one of the games that own that space where the parents will be introducing a game to their kids for the first time, to have a game that can be shared and played, and then you can, like the family can take care of a family pet in real life, but creating that family bond and the conversation between the parents and the younger generation. So games can now become a point of conversation instead of a point of conflict. In earlier sessions, Rachel also talked about this. Within the space framework, how can we get parents to work with their kids, to play with their kids, so that they can have a shared experience and they can have a conversation surrounding gameplay instead of trying to just limit the screen time of the next generation. And we strongly believe that this shared experience is also a shared nostalgia where family culture, family conversations, and family rituals can be passed through play. So one of my biggest dreams is that I can bring Neopets back to its heyday, build a new experience with all this intention, design in place, and build a game that's truly enjoyable by myself and also with my future generation. And I think that's kind of why we want to revive Neopets and take it to the next level. So that's the end of the talk, but I couldn't end the session because earlier today, SY from That Game Company mentioned that after you take people down the memory lane and having an emotional journey through their love of Neopets, you should always end with a hook. So the hook is that we're actually going to have our first ever pop-up store in New York. For those that are in the area, you should mark your schedule. It's going to be August 21st to the 23rd. It's going to be at the Shopify New York event space. We're going to be there for 3 days. It's open to public. So please come check it out. And it's a great time for you to buy a piece of your childhood. Thank you very much.